doing out there, folks? We are back with another edition of Unfinished Business Deep Dive. I am your host, Jeff Gallishaw, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions.
Can't hardly wait.
This week, we are going to talk about a film I love wholeheartedly. And I know a lot of you or some of you out there do not like this movie, but I don't care. This movie is great. It is energetic. It's colorful. It's a smart takedown of capitalism and showing off the behind-the-scenes machinations of the music industry and product placement, because this film has the most product placement in a film, at least up to that time. I am talking about 2001's, based on the Archie comic book, Josie and the Pussycats, starring Rachel Lee Cook, Rosario Dawson, Tara Reid, Helen Cummings, Parker Posey, who should have got an Oscar nomination for this movie. She is that good in this movie. We also have Gabriel Mann, Paolo Costanzo, Missy Pyle, Carson Daly, Harry Spears, Seth Green, Donald Faison, Breckin Meyer, and the great Eugene Levy. Now, this movie is about how Josie and the Pussycats find their way to fame and fortune from a small town band to world-topping superstars in only a week or a month. And it's due to they are part of a promotion between the record industry and the government, putting subliminal messages in music to get teenagers to buy more products, because, again, teenagers have all this disposable income and they don't pay taxes. So I'm like, genius plotline right there. It's subversive. It's sort of like Scream, where it's making fun of what it exactly is, which is a movie that's all about, commercialism, and this film is breaking it down and kind of an attack on it. And look, there's one person who works in the film who I would have probably recast, but other than that, this film is damn near so much fun, beginning to end. Unfortunately, because it bombed, it kind of ended the writer-director's careers, who did previously make Can't Hardly Wait, Harry Elfont, and Deborah Kaplan. So, Andre, I'm interested to know, how do you feel about Josie and the Pussycats?
So I'll give a little bit of context, even though it's not going to take too long. I never read the comics, although I do have a few Archie comic books, especially The Punisher Meets Archie, which is one of my favorites from 1994, I believe. But I remember the cartoon, Josie the Pussycats, because when Cartoon Network first started, they were playing all those old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and that was one of them that they had produced. So I was aware of it. And when the movie came out, look, I'm too cool for school. It wasn't my thing. But I did have a crush on Rosario Dawson at that time. When she was coming off of, what was it, Light It Up? Like, that girl's a dime. Like, both my cousin and I were like, yeah, that girl's a dime. And she's still very attractive now. But it wasn't the kind of movie I was going to go and pay to see, and I didn't get to see it until we decided to do this as a deep dive.
20 years later.
Yeah. So, okay, I think it is definitely a piece of the early 2000s. You could see it in all the trends, all the records. Like, look at all the record stores, like Virgin Megastore. Like, my God, I missed this. I miss going into a record store and looking for a CD that I know I can't find in a Best Buy. That's how much I miss those days. And, you have all your Can't Hardly Wait actors making cameos. And then you have, of course, Rachel Lee Cook was coming off of She's All That. Tara Reid, who was appropriately cast in her part, was coming off American Pie, and then you have Rosario Dawson. So I'll tell you what I liked and what I didn't like.
Okay.
I like Rosario Dawson, not because she's hot, but I think she gives the most real performance out of everybody else. Everybody else is playing it up like it's a comic book. She's the only one that's like kind of grounded and seems to be like the one that it kind of gets this is not feeling like a band anymore. It feels like we're kind of selling ourselves out. So I gotta say, I liked her out of everybody. Alan Cummings steals the movie in every scene.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Not exactly, but agreed.
yeah, no, he's a lot of fun. Parker Posey is definitely fun as the villain, and her whole motivation. Um, yeah, the product placement, I'll admit, watching it in the beginning, it was annoying the shit out of me until I realized this was also part of the plot. This is part of what's
Exactly.
happening. They're commercializing these artists to make people buy more stuff, to make things trend. If you made this today, it probably would be a lot worse than back in 2000. Um, so yeah, I mean, and there's some moments in it that I kind of like. What I have an issue with, knowing it's a comedy, knowing what it's supposed to be, I feel like it can't decide, is it a kids movie or is it a raunchy teenage comedy? Not for the American Pie R-rated crowd, but just the people that go and pay to see Can't Hardly Wait and She's All That, and all the mushy, romantic type of comedies at the time. And I didn't like The Boyfriend for Rachel Lee Cook. He kind of
Agreed. I agree. That's the weak point there. And
he had
but
no charisma.
yeah, but he had the look. That was the whole thing. I feel like with his casting. But interesting, you said that it couldn't decide what type of film it was because Archie Comics actually did not want to promote the film and talk badly about it because of the more racier material and scenes. But they, interestingly enough, made them put in a scene where we see the girls brush their teeth to show that they were still wholesome. So it's just like, okay. But yeah, they did not promote the film at all. After they saw the finished product.
You could tell.
But that's one of the reasons why I like the film, because it's playing like both sides. It's like trying to play up for an older audience, like with its wink, wink, nods of humor, but also it has that corny humor that kids like. Like if it had been made now, this would have been, again, I hate to say it, perfect for Disney or Nickelodeon, to put out. I love the cameos of Seth Green, Breckenmeyer, and Donald Faison doesn't have much to do. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like he came with the package. Like, hey, if you want these guys, you got to take Donald, because he doesn't really do anything. But I enjoyed that opening scene, and considering you think it's going to be so dopey, it surprised me because I did actually see this in theaters. Yes, I was 23 and watching this movie in a theater that only had 5 other people in it. So I just want to say that. And it's interesting that you like Rosario Dawson's character or her acting the most, because she won the role over Brandy and Aaliyah for their role. And Left Eye and Beyonce.
Yeah, I was going to say Beyonce auditioned for it.
And I know Zoe Deschanel had auditioned for the role of Josie. I guess Tara Reid was just a shoo-in from the beginning. This is like one of the few of her noteworthy roles, and until she literally became the character. And okay, also one thing that carries this movie over the top, the soundtrack is by Kay Hanley, who does the singing, and she's a lead singer of Letters from Cleo, who were also heavily featured in 10 Things I Hate About You. And also, the songs are written by Babyface, who has a cameo and produced this film.
And that's the weird thing that I didn't know, was that Babyface and his ex-wife were the ones producing this thing. That's like totally out of the box. That's like George Duke producing the music for The Heavenly Kid.
Exactly. And that is why we get that really, even I will admit, unfunny joke about the captain and Tennille. And
that made no sense.
Yeah, I was like, and Babyface, stay away from acting. Yeah. So, but, and the singer from Fountains of Wayne also wrote the songs. And that is the strongest element of the movie, is the soundtrack, because even though I'm not a girl, if I had a daughter, I would want her to listen to these songs because they are all about female empowerment and they're catchy. Power pop, you have Pretend to Be Nice, These Three Words, of course, what is the one I love? Look Around. All these songs. I'm just like, oh my God. I still listen to the soundtrack. I do have the original DVD, but I also have a CD of the soundtrack still. That is how much I love this film. If I had a record player, I'd have the vinyl. And this is just why I love this film so much. And I'm glad now, later on, audiences are catching up with the film. Look, I'm not saying everything is gold, but considering it was a studio film and what it was attempting at the time, I really have to give kudos, unfortunately, since it didn't make any money, it kind of sunk their careers, but I got to give kudos to them, for this film and the script. I mean, even Missy Pyle and her little role, they have an inside joke. Why are you even here? Oh, because I was in the comic, like inside jokes like that. And the only thing, like you said, that doesn't work is the love interest, really. Everything else, or even their weird manager, Alan, played by Paolo Costanzo, who's just like a victim of consumerism and whatever is hot at the time. And I really wish this movie could have been a hit, because I would have liked to have seen an Archie universe that was not Riverdale.
Well, that's the thing I was also going to say, too, that I think the movie is missing. We know it's Riverdale when we first see them, but you could have set up, before there was ever universe building in cinema, with some exceptions, you could have built the Archie cinema universe right there. And then you could have had it like maybe Ethan Embry could have played Archie. And that would have been your cameo, and then you set him up for another movie, and then you have Jennifer Love Hewitt playing either Betty or Veronica. Why not? You had the potential and the talent in 2000. It was right there.
Unfortunately, they did not see past that, considering the movie bombed. But what was interesting was the soundtrack was a hit at the time. It actually went gold, and that is why it's still revered today. And unfortunately, Rachel Lee Cook's career never really got any momentum.
Yeah, that's a shame. And I thought she had, it's not a good movie, but Get Carter with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, yeah, I remember her in that.
Where she plays his niece. They have a really good scene together when they're talking to each other on a rooftop that I think really showed the extent of her range as an actress. And unfortunately, like you said, this movie pretty much shut the door on her, and then she ends up doing the reboot of She's All That, He's All That,
which I just refuse to watch. And
no, she deserved better.
Yeah, I mean, she's even good in a Miramax movie that didn't get a wide release called Tangled, where she's in the middle of a love triangle between, I think it's Hatosi and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. And I'm just like, that film should have gotten more than what it had, because I think they put it straight to DVD at the time. But that is a film I would also suggest, if anybody's a fan of Rachel Lee Cook, check that film out.
I'm just curious, did she be to Harvey Weinstein as well?
So far, no reports on him doing anything to her, but it's it's not out of the picture. Maybe she just doesn't really have a story, or maybe he was too busy with the other girls that he really didn't notice her, and he was like, well, after Josie and the Pussycats, he was like, oh, well, I don't want her anymore. And, she's not box office gold, but let me keep producing these Freddie Prinze Jr. movies. Yeah. Also, since I own the DVD, there is an actual PG cut of the movie where they cut all the racy stuff out of the film. So I guess if you want to show it to your kids someday, you can show them the clean version.
So they also blur out Rachel Lee Cook's scantily clad outfits, because I did feel like there were some outfits she wore. I don't mind it as a guy, but some stuff where I'm thinking if this is being marketed to kids, she's wearing some very skimpy outfits here.
No, the outfits get the pass, but strangely enough, if you've watched the movie as many times as I have, you'll notice throughout the film, Tara Reid's the only character, or the only female character, who doesn't ever wear a full shirt. Everything is a belly shirt throughout the whole film.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Okay. That just shows my attention to detail for this film. But like I said, I say out there, I know some of you have heard of this film and they're like, oh, fucking Josie and the Pussycats. I don't want to watch that. That's stupid. Give it a chance. It's a little smarter than you think it is, or is not as common as you might think it is. And again, Parker Posey, this was the warm-up to her being the only good thing in Scream 3. You know, this comedic performance is all over the place. She's campy. She's fun. She's funny. The final reveal is a little silly, but it works for her and her character. Her and Alan Cumming have great chemistry together. Like, I almost wish we could just have a film starring them, as like if this had been spun off into maybe an Archie movie.
It's better than the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie.
No, I'm not going to try to be nice and not say anything about that movie. But
somebody died from it.
I'm just like, that movie's, it's bad.
It's better if you get assassinated.
I'm like, it's just bad. That's all I'm going to say. Though they might have made a more interesting Boris and Natasha. And, you know, maybe that could have been their follow-up to this movie, you know. You know, like, hey, nobody else wants to make the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. You guys want to do it? Okay. And, you know, I just think, like I said, I'm biased on this. And I'm sure the other people out there who love this movie will agree. This is, to me, a definitely must-see. But if you don't tend to agree with my reviews, then you'll probably hate it. I just think it's a very fun movie. And it's definitely, if I ever have children, and I particularly have daughters, this is a film that I, at least for me, will be required to play for them. And, but my question for you, would you recommend it?
Personally, no, but if you are an Archie fan, I think you would like it. But I think, I don't watch Riverdale, but I think the Riverdale fans would agree Riverdale is much better than...
Well, see, actually, I talked to someone who's an Archie diehard. They've never seen this movie, but they hate Riverdale. So I suggested this movie to them. I'm waiting to hear back from what they have to say. So, Stefio Soul, I am waiting. And
Did they ever have Josie the Pussycats on Riverdale?
I don't know, because I don't watch Riverdale. Oh. I think they did, though. I believe they did. I know.
Comment in the comment section.
Yes, and I know you're waiting for the Jabberjaw movie.
Yeah. Well, they were supposed to do that Kung Fu Dog movie with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, Hong Kong Phooey?
Hong Kong Phooey, yeah. They were supposed to do that at one point. There was actually, if you go on YouTube, there is a test shot with Eddie Murphy's voice. But it, of course, it didn't get made. It was going to be part live action, part CGI.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was during their, like, hey, Underdog was a hit. Why not? Also, here's a little known fact that only I probably care about. There is a novelization of the movie by Kathy East Dubowski and Jackie Giraz. If anybody finds it and wants to send it to me, I will gladly read it and review it. That is how much I love this movie. Look, I know it's not a cinematic classic, but this is like a comfort movie for me. Like Pitch Perfect. Again, Can't Hardly Wait. This is just something I can watch over and over and just fall in love with it as much as I can. I don't know if other people like it as much as I do, but I just loved it. Also, this was supposed to be the first in a series of Hanna-Barbera cartoons made into live action feature films for older audiences, but obviously since it bombed, they treaded lightly when it came to the Scooby-Doo movie after this. Who I think Rachel Lee Cook could have been a good Daphne.
But I like the first Scooby-Doo movie. It actually was a lot more fun than I thought it would be.
For a person who gave Josie and the Pussycats a chance, I have not seen the Scooby-Doo movies.
Let me ask you this. Is there any cartoon you grew up with that you'd still want to see a live-action version of?
I mean, nothing that would be affordable, like Thundercats, you know.
Well, yeah, you gotta do that, right?
But, I mean, nothing... I mean, and I don't think there's enough of an audience for Jason the Wheel Warriors, the live action, you know? And I'd be afraid of a live-action Voltron movie. So,
that's what I'm still trying to do.
I'm just like, I mean, what am I going to say? The Get Along Gang? You know? Where they're all animals? It's like... I don't even know how they do that.
I'm shocked they still have not done the Jetsons yet.
That just seems like a very expensive movie. And then the script that was out there was, hey, let's write a script where all of their all the technology stops working. And not to
maybe William H. Macy as George Jetson, and
now
Danny DeVito was Mr. Spacely, but he wanted like too much money.
Well, when the cartoon basically looks like you, I think you have room to make demands.
Well, now they could get Peter Dinklage. It wouldn't make any difference.
Peter Dinklage doesn't have that Mr. Spacely energy that Danny DeVito has. Now
I'm sure he could get into it.
I just don't see it. And you need like an old character actor to play Spacely Sprocket.
Oh, so you would get like an actual, like a regular sized human and then just shrink their head into a midget?
No, then it'd be too much technology, and we're already dealing with a movie with so much technology.
Then you have the dwarf community complain that you cast a regular sized actor to play a dwarf.
I say Bryan Cranston as George Jetson. Or if this was back in the day, Kevin Costner. To show you get Annette Bening back in the day to play Jane.
She was perfect, yeah.
If you take whoever was the hottest teen female star to play Judy.
Tiffany.
Why not? If she was alive, do we get Joan Rivers to kind of do her role from Spaceballs?
Yes, that's a must.
Though I have a funny feeling they'd cast Rosie O'Donnell at the time.
She could, yeah, no, she would have been perfect for that. I think she was even on the short list.
But I also am afraid it would end up like something like the Flintstones.
Or Macaulay Culkin or Elijah Wood as Elroy.
I would see more Macaulay, maybe because of the blonde hair, but he would have been the highest paid actor on the movie if he had been in it. And it might as well have just been the story of Elroy and the Jetsons. But yeah, like I said, Josie and the Pussycats, I say check it out as soon as possible, especially if you just want a film to chill with, good vibes, energetic, fun. This is the film you definitely want to watch. Watch it with Pitch Perfect. It goes perfectly together. And Andre, what is your last word on Josie and the Pussycats of 2001?
I think there was a reunion recently, right? They did something at Alamo Drafthouse or some event where they had the cast and the directors come back. But I'll just say those two directors either do a Can't Hardly Wait sequel or just hopefully somebody could give them another job, because it's a shame that this had to be the one to end it.
Maybe they should have did the Miss Marvel series.
Or Fantastic Four.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see them like, you haven't worked in 20, 30 years. Here's this franchise. Even that would be like Josh Trank getting a job in Hollywood.
But don't forget, Sam Raimi hadn't worked in a decade before they asked him to do Doctor Strange.
Yeah, but he kind of could write his own ticket, too. It wasn't like, oh, he hadn't made a movie in 10 years because he was in Hollywood jail.
Yeah, but then also, too, we're going to make a Thor movie. Who we want to get? Oh, I know who we need to get. Kenneth Branagh.
And you saw what happened there. I guess I like Kenneth Branagh as an actor. I like him as a director. But watching his Shakespearean, I guess maybe because they thought kings and royals, let's have him direct it like something Shakespearean, but with a lot of special effects and action.
Hell, let's get Kenneth Branagh to direct an Archie movie.
Nah, I think even he'd be like, that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. It's like, hey, I already just made, an espionage film and these Death on the Niles. And then I feel like Kenneth Branagh would look at an Archie film and like, where's my role? He'd be like, am I supposed to play the Alan Cumming role? He might not have been a bad George Jetson pick, though, back in He's got the look.
He can't do an American accent to save his life. Did you see that again?
He can. Well, if he tries to play George as Woody Allen, he can do that. Hey, he was a good Woody Allen surrogate. He's not an American. It's better than him keep playing Russians for some odd reason.
He wants to play Russians these days. He's got a problem with them.
Hey, he's like, hey, Tenet, can he be Russian?
And I'll be dead honest. I always thought he was British. I didn't know he was actually Irish this whole time.
I didn't know that. See, this is news to me. On the Josie and the Pussycats episode, we have broken news about Ken Branagh's heritage because Andre saw Belfast.
Actually, I haven't, but just
see, but you read about it, so you're like, what? He's what? And I let him into my house. I let him sip my tea.
Who don't think Rosario Dawson's black?
What, like 5 people? I'm like, look, Rosario Dawson has been a gorgeous queen since kids.
And she went from Josie the Pussycats to dating Cory Booker. That's progress.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going with that, she also dated Eric Andre, so.
And Joshua Jackson.
Joshua Jackson has a good dating record, though.
Yeah.
I'd be like, look, I will hold this movie over Adventures of Lulu Nash for Rosario Dawson.
Okay, I'll also say this, too. I recommend it to anybody who hates Carson Daly and wants to see him get his ass kicked.
That's true. And it also shows why Carson Daly never had an acting career, even playing himself.
Do they still do TRL?
No, they tried to bring it back. That lasted a few months, and they cut it because, again, why would you, as an artist, want to be on TRL when you can make so much money premiering stuff on YouTube, your own Instagram, all that other stuff?
Well, that tells you why MTV is dead. It shouldn't even
Exactly. There's actually a YouTube video about it, too.
It kind of represents the last of that era before we got to...
Exactly. So I'm like, so for all those people out there who want to see how, not classic MTV, but towards the end of classic MTV was, watch Josie and the... See, you even gave another reason why they should go see this movie. I am telling you, this movie is historic.
Yeah, you could put it in a time capsule and 40, 50 years from now, people find it like, oh, what's a record store?
Oh, the good old days, Virgin Megastore specifically,
yeah,
which features prominently throughout. And you know, a lot of early 2000 inside jokes that today's generation might not get, like, who's that? What are they talking about? And
who's Kurt Loder?
Oh, Lord. Oh. Hey, he's a movie reviewer now, so you never know. We might bump into him in a professional setting.
Oh, he's going to get me too. You just watch.
Okay. But I say, like, again, obviously I have much love for this movie. And, you know, I haven't been as excited to talk about a movie in a while. So I say Josie and the Pussycats, classic on the Jeff list. Andre's like, it's okay. So that's going to end this deep dive. And we hope to see you next time for our next picks on Unfinished Business Deep Dive and Unfinished Business Television. I will see you next time, guys. We will see you next time, guys.